Hello, my name is Jennifer O'Brien, and I am an Academic Support Specialist with International Services. Today we're going to be talking about presenting skills, one of the most important skills to employability in Canada. When joining the workforce, all students have certain challenges. Whether it is limited paid work experience, limited career-related experience, or even a lack of professional network, students all experience common barriers and may need to acquire certain employability skills. One skill that is considered important to Canadian employers is presenting. Though this is a skill for all students in the workplace, it is important for international students to be aware of it because the Canadian approach may differ slightly from other places. For example, in Canada, you might be expected to engage with the audience as you talk about PowerPoint slides, giving eye contact and asking questions. It is not enough to simply read your slides. You have to interact with the audience and engage with each person, even if that means simply giving them eye contact. In contrast, other cultures may expect people in a company to watch presentation slides while you talk about them with no interaction with the audience. One example in Canada can be if someone is asked to speak at a conference to represent their workplace. You will be expected to bring your own slides and to prepare what you will say ahead of time. It is important for you to memorize what you want to say, as it will not look good if you come with a script in hand or cue cards. In fact, this can actually make you look unprepared and will affect how others perceive you and the content that you will present. The key is to familiarize yourself with what is expected in the country you intend to work in to avoid any conflicts. When we hear presenting, we automatically think about a formal presentation in front of a group, often with slides to show on a screen. However, there is a lot more to presenting than simply slides on a screen. Presenting means that you provide information clearly and effectively to a public audience. This skill requires you to organize your thoughts and ideas and for you to be confident in what you are saying. There are many other types of ways one can present in the workplace that don't involve a traditional presentation with slides, regardless of your job. They can include interviews, sharing ideas in a meeting, and speaking with clients or other outside groups. First, before you are hired for a job in Canada, you are tested on your presenting skills in the job interview. This is a form of informal presentation because you may not have a PowerPoint, but you are still presenting yourself and your idea to others. You are expected to express yourself well and have pre-planned answers to questions they will most likely ask. These questions can range from situations you might be in or from something you have already done. It is expected that you will have researched the company so that you will have an idea of what they stand for and are better able to answer their specific questions. Furthermore, in job interviews, Canadians prefer a direct style of communication, being more reserved and less open in terms of emotion. Though this may not be true in other settings, interviews are almost always done in this manner. Another type of presenting occurs in meetings. You may present every time you share your idea in a meeting, both face-to-face or virtually, especially if you are in charge of a project or are given a particular task. You will need to have the skills to present your ideas effectively. Although it is not often seen as presenting, you are displaying your presenting skills when you speak with others on the job, such as clients, customers, or even other suppliers. Lastly, you will present information to others when speaking with clients or outside groups. This could be as simple as answering a question as a cashier or providing more information about a product that your company sells. Anytime you are speaking on behalf of an employer or providing your opinions to others, you are practicing informal presentation skills, and so it is important that you do so in a way that is organized and professional. One way to do that is to plan out what you intend to say or pause before speaking to ensure that you convey the right information. Essentially, think before you speak. Even though there are many different kinds of presenting in the workforce, there is a general 5-step process that you can follow to develop an effective presentation. First, develop the objectives. This may mean either writing them down or thinking about them in conversation. What is the goal of this interaction? Is it to introduce a new action plan for your company, to brief everyone on your team about your ideas, or is it to explain the store's return policy? Whatever it is important for you to know the objective so that you can stay on task and properly communicate with others. Next, you will need to analyze the audience. Depending on who you are talking to, that will drastically change how you respond. For example, if you are talking to the CEO in a company setting, they may only want to hear information that impacts the company as a whole. Well, if you are talking to customers in a store, they don't need to know information about the company, but just need to know information about the product the company produces. The goal is to ensure that the audience gets what they came for. The next step would be to prepare a presentation outline. In a traditional presentation, that may mean you're preparing an outline for the PowerPoint slides, whereas in a meeting or interview, it may mean anticipating others' responses and coming up with the most likely questions they will ask you. When speaking with clients or customers, this typically involves a mental outline in which you think of the best way to present the information so that they can understand. Once you've come up with an outline, you can think of developing the actual content. What will you say? Every situation is unique and requires slightly different responses, but what they all share is the professionalism. It is important to respond with professionalism in mind. Last on our steps is to consider developing visual aids, handouts, and notes. Though this won't look the same for every way you will demonstrate your presentation skills, all types of presenting benefit from something to see and use. Whether that is providing a handout alongside your PowerPoint, your resume in an interview, or a printout of the different products that the store sells that can meet the needs of your clients, visual aids really add to your presenting skills. While not all jobs will require you to make formal presentations using PowerPoint, it is still important to be aware of some of the best practices if you are ever tasked with creating a slide deck. Firstly, it is to ensure that your slides all have headers. This helps to ensure proper flow and organization of information and also conveys the main point to the audience. In Canada, it is expected that your PowerPoint be organized linearly, in which you start with an introduction, include all the content, and finish with a conclusion. Though not all presentations look the same, they all share this similar organizational structure. Secondly, in terms of information, simple is better. Do not overcrowd your slide with information and details. The purpose of the slide is to generate interest and display visual information that is not easily described. The third consideration involves the slide design. It is important you find a balance between creativity and professionalism, while also keeping consistency in mind. To elaborate, it is important to select font styles and colors which are easy to read. Similarly, it is important to choose background colors and designs that are simple and complementary to other design options chosen. Your design should not be a distractor from the most important thing, the information. Just like there are different concepts of time and professionalism, countries around the world have different concepts of etiquette when presenting information. In Canada, we value the following: keeping eye contact, being aware of gestures, watching your posture, monitoring your voice, considering your clothing choice, and being mindful of your word choice. First is keeping eye contact. Though it may be a bit odd in some countries, in Canada, we see eye contact as an important aspect of nonverbal communication. By giving eye contact, you are showing to your listeners that you are paying attention, that you are invested in the conversation, and that you are honest, open, and direct. The key is to find balance. Look at people you are talking to, but don't stare at them. It is also important to be aware of your gestures. So much can be communicated through this form of nonverbal communication. For example, it is important not to fidget with our notes or clothing when giving a presentation, as this is not only distracting, but also presents the idea that you are uncomfortable and nervous. While our gestures can present negative ideas when presenting, they can also present positive ideas. For example, hand gestures can signify important verbal messages and may also be used to reinforce and draw attention to important information on the slides. Similar to how gestures are a form of nonverbal communication, so is your posture. In terms of posture, a strong presenter is someone who is standing up straight with their chest up and shoulders relaxed, and their arms at their side or clasped in front of them. This stance is seen as open and confident. If you are presenting for a long duration, upholding this posture can be difficult, and thus it may be useful to work a little movement into your presentation. It is important to distinguish this movement from fidgeting. Rather, it is a movement with purpose, such as taking a few steps towards the presentation to point at something on the slide. Next, you want to be aware and monitor your voice. Though we don't often think about our voice in a conversation, when we present, we want to ensure that we are understood. This may mean talking louder than normal and trying to vary the pitch of our voices so that we do not sound monotone. By projecting your voice, especially if you are in a large room with many people, everyone can hear you and you sound confident. Another consideration is to speak slowly. Many people's goal is to be fluent in a language, but what they don't often realize is that faster does not always mean better. In fact, by speaking faster, it could lead to miscommunication and even seem like you were trying to rush. Fluency only means a constant stream of words and the ability to express yourself easily. Therefore, by speaking at a steady, slow pace, you allow your audience to capture the meaning of what you are saying and ensure that they all have time to process your words. Business attire is generally less formal in Canada. While the line between what we wear at home versus what we wear in the workplace is not as rigid as it once was, it is still important to dress appropriately. This may look different depending on your workplace, with your organization's culture and your job duties playing a major role on what is deemed acceptable workwear. In some situations, you may be required to wear a uniform, like at fast food places or in certain stores, whereas in others, it is left at your own advisement. That being said, it is always important to look professional. Be aware of what is accepted in your specific situation, and ultimately, to avoid wearing clothes that are distracting. Last, but certainly not least, you need to consider your word choice. This is very important, as the words we choose have a direct impact on how others perceive us. To ensure that you are following proper etiquette with word choice when presenting in Canada, it is best to follow these guidelines. First, avoid using long words. Though they make you sound smart, you want to ensure that everyone involved can understand you and your points. Second, eliminate words or phrases that may be inappropriate, insulting, or stereotypical. This can be tough because you may not be aware of which words fall in those categories. A great tip is to ask a friend or to stick to what you know. It is always better to be safe than risk making a mistake. Third, try to avoid using similar words. Though vocabulary is one of the hardest aspects of language learning, as there is so much to learn, you want to show your audience that you have a range of words. Fourth, if you feel that you struggle with vocabulary, a good tip is to search a thesaurus dictionary for synonyms and to make sure to check the meaning of the new words in the dictionary. Then, check with friends to see if you use the new words appropriately in a sentence. The last aspect of presenting skills is to learn how to deal with nervousness. All public speakers feel nervous before a presentation, and it is very common to feel nervous even in conversations, especially if English is not your first language. The best way to deal with being nervous is to be prepared. If it is something you can plan ahead for, you can rehearse with your friends and make sure the presentation is well structured and arrive early to set up. If it is not something you can plan for beforehand, it is good to have a few opening lines memorized, such as, "I'm going to begin this meeting by discussing," or, "Hi, my name is Jen, how may I help you today?" Also, remember to smile, breathe deep, and take pauses in your speech. It is completely acceptable to give yourself a few seconds between points to gather your thoughts. Thank you for watching our mini lesson on presentation skills in our video series. Stay tuned for the next module in our video series, Canadian Culture.